history-making week that was obviously gave us a lot of highs and lows within the chambers of the U.S. Capitol. But beyond the Beltway, what lifted and lowered spirits this week? It's time for our look at the good, the bad, the ugly. Hello. Well, joining me now, Editor-in-Chief of Humongous, John DeVore, and Danielle Moodie Mills of WokeAF and Democracy-ish podcast. Welcome to all of you. Okay, so we have a lot to get to, but let's start with the ugly and get to the good, because we might be fighting on the good. Okay, Danielle, you're ugly.
So my ugly of the week is that apparently researchers in Tulsa, Oklahoma discovered a mass grave site, which they believe is part of the Tulsa, Oklahoma mass grave from the massacre that happened in 1921. And so there have been many stories about where these graves were, what had happened, but what we do know is that a group of white racists burned down what Booker T. Washington had referred to as Black Wall Street. It was 36 blocks of bustling black economic, and it was destroyed in one day, May 31st to June 1st in 1921, and now we're going to be investigating to see who were in those mass graves.
Yeah, nearly a century later, there were many people who thought that the numbers, the original death toll, were very, very low. And a lot of people are learning more about this thanks to the TV series Watchmen, who many of us did not know the history of this riot that took place, but now it's there. I've been following this, you're ugly, this situation in India for some weeks now. And it really is.
I wanted to get more attention. So the Indian government has passed a citizenship law that excludes Muslims. It is patently anti-Muslim. There are riots erupting across the country as a result. And, you know, if you just boil it down to the basic conversation, it is wrong to legislate discrimination, be it by religion, race, sexual orientation, gender identity. And it's just one of those stories that I think should be elevated more because it's tearing the country apart.
Yeah, and so many people have been saying lately that there's been an attack on Muslims throughout the world.
In China.
In China with the Uyghurs, the Rohingya in Myanmar, which is right now at the world courts. I'm glad that you brought attention to all of that right there in India. Okay, let's talk about your bad.
It's supposed to get a little bit better.
It's a little
bit better. Okay, so from Massacre to the Klu Klux Klan. So my bad is that two students in Wyoming decided that for their white-out Spirit Day that they were going to show up in Klu Klux Klan garb. The white robes, the hoods, a cross around their neck, the whole nine. It sparked outrage, obviously, as the pictures went viral. The school has disciplined the students, but they haven't said how the students have been disciplined. The school district is 83.5% white, and while the superintendent and the principal says that we, are dedicated to inclusivity and diversity, this will not stand or be tolerated. The idea that two high school students thought that that was going to be a good idea, and the defense was, oh, well, they didn't know any better. You're in high school, and I'm pretty sure you learned about that part of our history beginning in elementary school.
Yeah, I don't know how you get that thinking. By the way, the superintendent of the school did release a statement that I want to read. He says, I believe that these actions were inappropriate. It was dealt with immediately. We are not going to tolerate anything that begins to look like it has racial overtones at all, and that was the basis for the disciplinary action. We were very disheartened that any of our students would do that. We live in a diverse community, and the district would never tolerate such actions among our students. Let's get to your bad.
So I'm a hypochondriac. The CDC has released a report saying that this year's flu is elevated. It is worse than last season's. There are elevated cases of flu across the entire country. So while the flu vaccine doesn't eliminate 100% of flu, it can decrease symptoms. Go and get a flu shot. I got mine a couple days ago.
I didn't get one yet. Okay,
you go get one. You can get one almost anywhere.
Okay. I'm terrified.
I got one at a drugstore, and then afterwards I bought combos. Well, I got a flu shot.
Those still exist?
The pizza combos. I ate some after I got my flu shot.
Do they also have Mentos?
You know what? You could get Mentos too. Go get a flu shot and then get a small snack.
All right. Danielle, let's talk about the good.
Oh my God, so the good, trending all over social media today. Eddie Murphy made his return last night to SNL for the first time in 35 years. He brought back some of the most iconic characters that he had created. It was incredible.
What was your favorite part?
So my favorite part was the Mr. Robinson sketch, which was all about gentrification.
Little clip.
It was funny.
So much much has changed since we last spent some time together. My neighborhood has gone through so much. It's gone through something called gentrification. Can you say gentrification, boys and girls? It's like a magic trick. White people pay a lot of money, and then poof, all the black people are gone.
It's like we move in and y'all move out. What's going on? Let's get quickly to your good.
Oh, yeah. Well, the good is Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. The final chapter in the Skywalker Star Wars story opened this week.
Yeah.
I have seen it twice. I'm not ashamed of that. I loved it. I didn't love it as much as The Last Jedi.
Okay.
But what do you do?
Fighting words. I saw The Last Jedi. I hated The Last Jedi. J.J. Abrams clearly was our last hope. By the way, this last movie, only $176 million in its first weekend, down 20% from the previous ones.
Only.
Oh, my heart bleeds for Disney.
What will Disney do now?
All right, we'll be right back.